Hello, my dear friends. My name is Dr. Caffey, and I am the lead consultant at Caffeine Associates. Caffeine Associates is a one-stop HR shop, but we specifically specialize in driving organizations' performance to a whole new level. Major transformations enabling the organizations to profit from changing economic and technological landscape. Result-oriented leadership development ensuring business continuity and consistent success. Senior level local and international staffing solutions based on absolute confidentiality and trust. Please connect with us if you wish to know more about us or any of our programs. Now, coming back to our topic, Performance Management Information Series, we were discussing Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs in the context of performance management program with the lens of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's famous quote, I prefer liberty with danger than peace with slavery. We also tried to find ways to create a powerfully positive psychological contract with employees. We realized that there is a lot of research available on the deliverables by employees in context of performance management program. However, there is not much available on the deliverables by the organization in the context of performance management program. Please do not confuse these deliverables with the engagement programs as they have been studied and researched in a very different context. Let us now go back to where we left off in the previous episode of Performance Management Information Series, which was Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs, which states that only when the lower order needs of physical and emotional well-being are satisfied, we are concerned with the higher order needs of influence and personal development. Now, if we closely look at Maslow's theory, we will know that while this theory was proposed keeping in view a large audience and a different audience and in a different context, however, it also has a very strong link to the psychological construct of a good performance management program. Now the question is, how does it relate to the performance management processes? While the lower order needs are managed through other processes in the organization, however, the higher level needs can be used to create a powerfully positive construct of the psychological contract, which are sense of achievement, reputation, and self-actualization. A word of caution here though, do not overemphasize or create extra level of threat to the lower order needs of survival through performance management systems. Because if you do, it will destroy the essence of reciprocity in performance management systems as advocated by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Now, if we are able to translate these as the outcome of a performance management process for the employees, we will be able to construct a performance management process which is powerfully positive psychological contract. Next question is, how do we translate these needs of human beings as the outcomes of a performance management process? To answer this question, we need to look for answers elsewhere. Frederick Irving Hertzberg was an American psychologist who became one of the most influential names in business management. He is most famous for introducing job enrichment and the motivator hygiene theory in 1959. The theory was developed and published in the book The Motivation to Work, co-authored with Bernard Mosner and Barbara Bloch-Zimmerman. It proposed that separate factors, hygiene and motivators, influence job satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Frederick Irving Hertzberg was the first to show that satisfaction and dissatisfaction at work nearly always arose from different factors and were not simply opposing reactions to the same factor, as previously had always been believed. His most famous quote is, true motivation comes from achievement, personal development, job satisfaction, and recognition. Now bringing it all together, we started off from Jean-Jacques Rousseau's paper on social contract published in 1762. We learned the need of performance management systems to create promising and reciprocity for a powerfully positive psychological contract to employees as well as the organization. In order to do that, we needed deliverables from both parties. We found tons of research on employee deliverables to the organization, but organization deliverables to the employees were found in a different context due to lack of research in this specific context. Therefore, we had to look at Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs and combine it and infuse it with Frederick Helber's two-factor theory to create a powerfully positive psychological contract of performance management between the employee and the organization. Based on Helber's famous quote in 1959, true motivation comes from achievement, personal development, job satisfaction, and recognition. Now that we have combined the Jean-Jacques-Rousseau's social contract theory, Maslow's theory, and Helber's two-factor theory, we can safely answer the million-dollar question of what are the deliverables on the part of organization to create a performance management process that can engage employees in a powerfully positive psychological contract based on promissory and reciprocity of Jean-Jacques-Rousseau. So, deliverables and obligations on the part of the organization in an effective performance management system are six. Number one, it must ensure success of the employee. Number two, it must celebrate achievement of the employee. Number three, it must define clearly the work that needs to be done. Number four, performance management process must clearly define the required behaviors in observable and actionable way. Number five, it must ensure relationships. Number six, performance management process must ensure advancement and growth. In other words, performance management process can only engage employees in a powerfully positive psychological contract if and only if it can meet or exceed the above mentioned requirements. This is unfortunately easier said than done. The problem is that if even one factor falls short of the required standard, the whole system will fail and collapse. This is why even the best of the best performance management processes fail to engage employees. Imagine a situation where one is assessed by his managers to the lower end of the performance spectrum. In a typical organization, this will lead to a disaster for the employee as the compensation is directly linked to the performance. This would mean employee will be less inclined to receive a development feedback as he will be more concerned with his compensation details rather than development. On the manager's part, they will also be reluctant to give employee a direct feedback on his or her performance as this can lead to a confrontational dialogue between the employee and the manager. In order to avoid this kind of confrontational dialogue and creating an existential threat to the employee and triggering his survival instincts, it is important to align organization in employee wants as can be seen in this table. This table is an excellent example of Jean-Jacques-Rousseau's social contract of promissory and reciprocity, coupled with Frederick Taylor's scientific management theory and theories of motivation by Abraham Maslow and Frederick Helber. On the left hand side, we can see the deliverables by organization to the employee in a psychologically positive performance management system. On the right hand side, we can see the deliverables by employee to the organization in a psychologically positive performance management system. So, six deliverables on the part of the organization to the employee and six deliverables on the part of the employee to the organization. For example, look at point number 2. Organization deliverable is that PPPMS must celebrate achievement of the employee. Likewise, employee deliverable is that PPPMS must ensure that employees deliver on the desired business objectives of the organization. Similarly, all six deliverables have to be reciprocated by both parties, the organization as well as the employee.
Please follow Cafe Associates on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn.